Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So I actually watched, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw a portion of this video that was inspired by Neville Goddard. And I've heard of him before. I'm not super familiar, but I know that he's or was a very critical thinker. And the little bits and pieces that I have been able to read, the excerpts from all his work have been very, very thought-provoking. In other words, they've gotten the wheels turning, right? Which I love for myself, and which is always my goal with sharing content with you all. So I was inspired by this video, and again, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I am going to drop the link down in the description for you so that you can explore this topic further. But what I did have happen was I had some light bulb moments myself, just with the short bit that I watched. And instead of and I encourage you to do this too. You may already do this, I'm not sure, but what I like to do is just get a portion of something, just a little sampling, and then stop and then run with that and see what kind of dots connect within my mind. Because if you watch something that is meant to get the wheels turning for you, if you watch it through to completion, it's going to go in the direction of this other person's perceptions, right? The way that their dots connected. And so I find it more valuable to just stop it along the way and pause and reflect and allow my own dots to connect. And then you can always pick it back up, just make a note of where you stopped it, each time, and then you can pick it back up. And depending on which way the person perceiving this information, whichever way they're presenting it to you, it may go in a totally different direction than the way you took it at an earlier point. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like you can get layers and layers of revelations through this process with this tactic. So I hope that helps. And so that's what I'm doing today. I watched a little bit, I stopped it, and I made notes and took it in my own direction. And I hope that this inspires you today. So, today we're going to talk about why it's so important to be vigilant guardians over our thoughts. And I hope that you enjoy the message today. Basically, I've always heard that life and even other people and different aspects of life and our reality can serve as a mirror to us. And, I've kind of taken time here and there and pondered this concept, but I've never really been able to piece it together in a way that resonated with me, like super impactful. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like I haven't really been able to put it together, but I'm going to share with you a lens to look at that concept through today, right? How life is a mirror to us. So, yes. So the foundational concept for my message today is that we all have an unconscious part of our psyche, right? I mean, whether we want to or not, it's just the way the human mind is designed. And, that's what's so interesting with science and is the development of theories. When, all you have to go on are the results, right? Or whatever is directly observable, and then you kind of have to piece together your own theories based on that. But over the years, it seems to be a pretty strong consensus that we have not only this conscious awareness part of our psyche, but also an unconscious part that is very impactful in our lives. So we can't deny it, right? And the thing is, this is my opinion, okay? I think that we may try our whole life to become, I guess you may say, fully enlightened. And maybe it's true that some people throughout history really have gotten there, but I feel like we're going to have a lot more peace if we accept that it's likely that we're never going to totally annihilate the unconscious part of our psyche. In other words, we're not going to be able to totally, I guess you may say, transmute or alchemize, I'm thinking of alchemy, transform the unconscious part, pull it all into our conscious awareness. And if we make peace with that that's likely not going to happen for most of us, then it's going to bring us, it's going to be very helpful. And we're going to talk about how this is going to be helpful today. In other words, staying conscious of our unconscious, right? And then operating with this awareness daily. All right, so if we start to live like this, with this belief, then it's going to have a huge impact on us, I believe. So, there's been times when I've tried to, it's kind of like the whole which came first, the chicken or the egg. It's like that concept, but applied to thoughts and feelings. It's like, do feelings come from thoughts? Or do thoughts come from feelings? Like, what comes first? What impacts the other? Or is it both? Is it reciprocal? What's the relationship? I want to give you something to think about. Sometimes our feelings may supersede our thoughts, right? Our conscious thoughts, because they're rooted in thoughts or beliefs from our subconscious or our unconscious. In other words, we have beliefs and thoughts that drive us and affect us. They affect our emotions and our feelings. They affect our responses to different situations in this reality. And these beliefs that we're operating from are not even sometimes a part of our conscious awareness. They're just tucked away and hidden. And so we don't understand. This is how the mirror aspect works. We don't understand why consciously we may think that we're responding to a particular person or situation in a certain way, but then when they respond differently to us, it can be surprising. And it doesn't always mean that it's a reflection of us, but sometimes it does. And so when we learn to truly observe is when we're going to be able to start doing more of that transmuting, that transformation in our minds, right? Pulling more and more from the unconscious part to the conscious awareness, right? It's like when we understand that our life experiences actually serve us. Try this on. Try this perception on, this belief on, and see how it feels to you. To consider that our life experiences may actually work to our benefit. They may work to serve us by working as a mirror, right? To help us become more and more aware of the unconscious parts of our psyche. All right? Because then we can know how to step into our power. A lot of times people throw phrases like that around really lightly, and it's like, what does it really mean to step into your power? It sounds good, but like how? Are there actionable steps? Are there things we can do that actually produce lifestyle changes for us, that truly help us to feel like we have stepped into some level of power over our life that we weren't operating from before? So I just encourage you to try on these thoughts and consider these as beliefs to operate from, and just kind of see how your reality changes, right? And again, a big key is to observe and to not absorb. Don't attach. Just even if there's an unpleasant experience, just try to consider it as being beneficial, serving you as a mirror, like a clue, something to dive into, something to dig up from your unconscious part of your psyche, like a treasure hunt, sort of. And so, yeah. And what's interesting to me is that I believe it was this video that I'm going to link down below for you all that was talking about this. It was discussing how people and even organizations, like for-profit companies, it's like all the people or organizations that wish to persuade us, it's almost like they understand these mechanics of the human mind, and they use it, or they exploit it, you may say, to persuade us for marketing purposes, or to manipulate us for selfish purposes, if it's like a narcissistic type individual, okay? But when we are ignorant of these mechanics, and these other people are not ignorant of them, they understand them, well then that's what makes us a target, right? Or I believe it at least plays a big part in painting us as a potential target for manipulation. So, you know, and not only that, but it's like we can continue acting from previous manipulation that created conditioning, right? It's almost like it compounds, and it resides in our unconscious, okay? So it's like we have this conditioning sitting back here, and it has the potential to totally sabotage us, okay? Totally destroy our reality, or at least sacrifice the potential for beautiful outcomes in our life. So it's kind of important that we work to make the unconscious conscious, right? But again, it's like not coming at this effort or this task from the viewpoint of victimhood, of striving and stressing and worrying about it, but just being curious, right? Just understanding that there's always room to grow. All right, so here's how this can compound and layer if we don't take hold of it, if we don't enact that gatekeeper role of our psyche and start guarding our thoughts and observing and being that critical parent role, self-parenting, you might say, all that part of our psyche. If we don't engage that consciously, it just, all this stuff compounds, okay? Because we can be unaware of why. I mean, sometimes you can kind of get caught in this trap of feeling like, why do all these bad things keep happening to me? Like, as an example, right? A victimhood mindset. Sometimes we can kind of find ourselves there, here and there throughout our life, and it's like, man, why do all these bad things just keep happening? And we may realize, we may be aware enough to realize that we are the common denominator, but that may be the extent of our realization, and because of that, we might actually start to self-convict and blame ourselves, right? And it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm the common denominator in all these situations, so I'm doing something wrong. And then we start to blame ourselves, and that's just another way to get stuck. So I think that it's helpful to think of ourselves in three parts, and this is just my thoughts, okay? And it's easy to remember if you think of things like, you know, the Holy Trinity, right? Three parts to that. So for us, if you consider, and I know this has been broken down from different psychologists throughout time, like I think your ego, your super ego, your id, there's so many different lenses, right? But this is just my lens. So just try it on, see how you feel about it. So it's like the first part, you may say, is your conscious mind, the conscious part of your mind, your conscious awareness. All right, what's easy to take control over, because you can observe it. It's right there, right? You don't have to work at it. The second part of yourself you may consider is your unconscious mind. Like I said, the part that literally you're totally oblivious about, you're unaware of. And the third part, which is a big theme in all these stories that we've reviewed, myths and fairy tales and folklore and all this stuff, the third part is the part of us that's somehow plugged into a higher power. And there's all different lenses to explain this higher power. Our higher self, the Holy Spirit, that inner guiding light. So The reason that this third part of us is so important, this higher power part of us is so important, is because faith is what carries us through. Hang on, let me read my notes here. Yeah, healthy beliefs. Yeah, faith is what carries us through via healthy beliefs formed through our conscious awareness, right? Even though we still have things that work against us through our unconscious part. Does that make sense? It's almost like, going back to the first part of my presentation here, if we accept that, we truly do have an unconscious part of our mind that's, affecting us, and sometimes it's negatively affecting us, like greatly, and we don't see it, we don't know about it, but it is reflected to us through our reality, right? Someone who's not working on doing the digging and the deep dives within their own unconscious, somebody who's not even trying to learn and grow, is just going to not recognize the reflection coming back to them through their reality as a mirror. They're not going to see it that way. They're just going to always blame everybody else and everything out there externally, constantly. And like I said, sometimes things really are, out there, and the fault lies out there totally, and it's not your fault and all this. That's my perception. But I think, a lot of times it's a reflection of something we did, an action, or a body language, or something we didn't do, or something that was said the wrong way, or whatever it is. It came from us, but it came from our unconscious part, and then it's reflected back to us in a way that's surprising to us, and it's negative, and it just hits right here, and you're like, what happened? So again, someone who's not doing the work at all, they're always going to be blaming the external. They're never going to recognize that reality can serve us as a mirror, right? They don't want to seek and find. They're not knocking at the door for it to be opened to revelations. You see what I'm saying? So I just think it's important. But that third part of us, again, first part being conscious awareness, second part unconscious, third part is kind of like that bridge between. It's like that part of us that says, okay, I understand I have an unconscious part, and I understand that it may be at work against me, and I'm working on it, and I'm trying to, become as conscious as I can and pull everything over into my conscious mind as much as I can. But until then, right, which is likely for most of us going to be our whole life, that until then part, faith in a higher power that's going to protect me from my ignorance, is going to be just crucial, right? It's what carries us through, and it carries us through via something that's intentional and you can put into action, and that is healthy beliefs. And how do you form healthy beliefs? Through conscious thoughts. You control which thoughts you attach to. You're going to have thoughts that come through kind of like, radio waves, and you have like an antenna, and you're picking up all this stuff, and some of it's bizarre, and you're like, I don't know where that came from. Maybe it came from your unconscious. Maybe it came from something else that's trying to persuade you or impact you to buy a product or whatever it is, right? A narcissistic person trying to use fear to exploit this part that you're not catching, so that they can manipulate you, take advantage of you. So my point is, faith is going to carry us through, okay? And we can put it into action and actually experience lifestyle changes because we're focused on the good. We're focused on the good things through intentionally constructing healthy beliefs, okay? The thing is, we can affect our reality unconsciously or consciously, right? Even without all the understanding. So this, to me, is how you step into your power, okay? Because here's the thing. It's harder to do when you still have undiscovered aspects hidden in your unconscious that are working against you, all right? So it's not that it's easy. It's a challenge, But see, that's what makes you a warrior right there. Okay, because even though you have this stuff working against you, it's challenging, it's tough, you are taking hold of what you do have, what you've worked so hard for to pull into your conscious awareness. You're taking hold of that and you're taking charge of it, and you're focusing on the good, and you're constructing your beliefs that by focusing on those healthy beliefs and good and positive and peaceful beliefs that are meant to protect you, and just bring about a beautiful reality. If you're focused on these that you consciously construct, then it's going to make all this other stuff irrelevant, because you're not even giving it attention, right? So back to the thought, can you ever fully unlock your unconscious mind? I don't know. I mean, I feel like there could be hundreds of thousands of things that are, millions of things that are locked in there. I don't know. So that's for you to think on and to decide for yourself. But here's what I want to leave you with. Isn't it enough? Is it not enough to recognize that we are blessed with revelations as we go? Because faith sustains us. And so that's what I choose as I continue to work on making more and more things conscious within my own psyche. And I just hope that you are inspired and encouraged, and I hope that I got the wheels turning for you. So thanks so much for coming along today, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.